I call this meeting of the Sweetwater County School District Number 1 Board of Trustees to order. If you would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome Presley Frank, who is a senior from Rock Springs High School, as our student liaison this month. So welcome, Presley, and encourage you to participate wherever you would like.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. We'll now proceed with recognition.
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, and members of the board. If you would please join me down front for recognition. We would like to start this evening by thanking Fremont Motors for their continued support of the students in Sweetwater 1. For every vehicle sold this year, a portion of the sale is donated to the district. We would like to extend our appreciation to General Manager Gabe Lloyd, Sales Manager Andy Sell, and Service Manager Christine Sell, and the whole Fremont Motor team for their donation in the amount of $6,850 for unpaid student meal balances in the Nutrition Service Department. If we could have Fremont Motor representatives join us, and Director Aramowski up front. Over winter break, Stephen Hardesty put his Safe Sitter skills to use. Safe Sitter is a training course offered within the Community Connections grant led by Lisa Plant. A friend was choking on a piece of candy, and Stephen was able to perform an abdominal thrust Heimlich maneuver and get the candy out before the adults got to him. Stephen took a Safe Sitter course over the summer during Community Connections. We are so proud of Stephen. He saved a friend's life. One of the many reasons we teach these courses to give our kids, students, lifelong skills. We would also like to congratulate Lisa Plant, the 21st Century Grant Director in the whole Community Connections program, on being selected as the Urban Renewal Agency October Volunteer of the Month. Community Connections is a part of the 21st Century Community Learning Center programs through Sweetwater 1. Activities are offered each day from 4 to 5:30 p.m. and include virtual job shadowing, Kindness Club yearbook, book club, Genius Hour, video editing, and others, to name a few. Community Connections is a great confidence builder for teens and also provides community services throughout Sweetwater County. Is Stephen Hardesty here? Can we ask him to come up? Miss Lisa Plant. We would like to invite Mr. Urban, Mr. Woodward, Mr. Lott, Miss Wig, Nurse Lovato, Nurse Pedri to come on up if you are in attendance to be a part of the picture, please.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3.
Next, we would like to recognize Presley Frink. She is our student representative from Rock Springs High School. We'd like to thank Presley for joining the Board of Trustees this evening and sharing a fresh student perspective. Presley's attendance sends a positive message to all the student body to become involved in a respectful way. Our students are capable of great things. Civic engagement is one of those. Thank you, Presley. If you want to come on over. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, Ms. Hopestown Lewis, Mr. Bolin, Mr. Akers, and Mr. Stratka, if you could please come up and join her in the photo. High school administration, if you'll just stay up there. If you guys will stay up here. Yes, please. On Monday, January 8th, a medical emergency occurred. Miss Elizabeth Sade, as well as two students, Addison Marcy and Naomi LeCue, jumped into action quickly. Elizabeth used her prior first aid and CPR training to support and assist, while Addison Marcy used her current lifeguarding training and skills to also help. Naomi calmly dialed 911 and effectively communicated with dispatch until emergency medical EMS arrived on scene. Due to Miss Sade, Addison, and Naomi's quick action, the situation turned out okay. In addition to this, Miss Sade has been instrumental in helping Rock Springs High School get in all first aid training set up for Professional Development Friday. Can we have Miss Liz Sade, please? Can we get Addison Marcy and Naomi LeCue? Yes, you can stay up here. This evening, we continue the new tradition of honoring employees as they reach milestones for their service within Sweetwater One. Tonight, we would like to recognize those employees that have completed 20 years of current service. Many of our staff have served in various schools or departments over the years. So this evening, we will mention their current role, and employees will be called up by the school or department with their administrators or directors. Thank you to the following employees. Informational Technology, Leanne Chesnavar, Tech Specialist. If Ms. Tolman, Ms. Hopesdown Lewis, Mr. Bolin, Mr. Akers, and Mr. Strodka could come up to help us celebrate Leanne. Okay, well, we'll give Leanne a round of applause. I guess you guys don't need to stay up there. You're good. Okay, well, you guys don't need to stay up there now. For now, yeah, for real this time.
Oh, not that nice.
North Park Elementary, Shannon DiBernardi, special education teacher. Suser Duncan, third grade teacher. Alicia McGahey, kindergarten teacher. What? Oh yeah, you're up, you changed up. You're fifth now, virtual. Gotcha. Kindergarten.
Whatever, right?
Mr. Group, if you'll join, no. Mr. Group, if you'll join us up front.
Okay, guys, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Pilot Butte Elementary and Special Services, Miss Joanne Zotti, occupational therapist. She able to make it this evening? Okay. Well, we'll give her a round of applause. Rock Springs High School and Facilities Department, Miss Spring Arndt. Oh, yay, she's here. She is our trainer and quality control specialist. If Mr. Bernardis, Mr. Portillo, and Mr. Celaroli, if you're here, if you could join us up front.
Alrighty, guys. 1, 2, 3.
Rock Springs High School, Mr. Dave DePorto, art teacher. And Rock Springs High School, Mr. Sean Muir, math teacher. If Miss Downs Lewis, Mr. Strodka, Mr. Akers, and Mr. Bolin will join us up front for a picture. Exorcist steps. Special Services, Miss Tony Stitchcomb, Special Services Secretary, and if Miss Arnoldi and Mr. Nedrow will please join us up front.
Alrighty, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Next, we would like to invite Miss Tony DiBernardi up to be recognized kindergarten teacher at Walnut. And if you don't mind, Tony, I'm going to join you as your administrator.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Wyoming School Boards Association, WSBA, is celebrating Wyoming School Board Appreciation Week during the week of February 19th through the 23rd, 2024. Elected school boards play a crucial role in communities and schools across the state. We would like to thank school board members for their dedication and hard work. These public servants voluntarily tackle the enormous jobs of governing school districts. Their actions and decisions affect the present and future lives of our children and serve administrators, school staff, and the community. Thank you, trustees of Sweetwater School District Number 1. Do we want to take a picture of just the trustees? Oh, you guys.
You guys are used to this routine, right? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys.
And that concludes the public recognition for this evening.
We will now proceed with roll call.
Mrs. Cochran? Here. Mrs. Schumacher? Here. Mrs. Summers? Here. Mrs. Thompson? Here. Mrs. Wood? Here. Mr. Wright?
Here.
Chair Jellicoe?
Present. We do have a quorum. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda. It's been moved by Mr. Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Summers. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. We'll now continue on with the superintendent reports. The first one is the Fall 2023 Climate Survey results as presented by representatives of Upbeat Research. Please proceed. Looks like we have some volume issues. Okay, if you try again. Okay, please introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, or good evening, rather.
Not
My
yet.
name is Dallas Yates. I am a program manager here at Upbeat. We're pleased
There
to
we
be with
go.
you all this evening to present the Fall 2023 Climate Survey results.
Please introduce please introduce yourself again.
Sure. Dallas Yates. I'm a program manager here at Upbeat. Thank you all for letting us join this evening. I'm going to share my screen here. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So like I said, I'm Dallas Yates. I'm a program manager here at Upbeat. Kim and I are here to present the Fall 2023 Climate Survey results. A little bit about me. I was a teacher. I taught special education for several years in New York City. And then I wrote my graduate thesis on teacher retention and teacher satisfaction. So Upbeat was a great fit. And I'll pass it over to Kim to introduce yourself as well, and then we can get started.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kim Marucci. I've had about 26 years in public education as well as college, secondary. As a teacher, principal, curriculum director, K-12, and dean of academic affairs for a college. I now have my executive certification, coaching certification, and I'm working with Upbeat to coach principals and administrators through the Upbeat survey results.
So here's an agenda for our presentation this evening. We did start with some introductions. I'm going to give a brief, quick overview of Upbeat and who we are, if maybe you're unfamiliar. We'll discuss the goals and focus areas of Sweetwater that we're intentional about hitting in the Fall 2023 Climate Survey. We can discuss participation rates for the Fall Survey, as well as district-wide areas of growth from the spring, as well as district-wide areas for improvement. So first things first, our surveys are entirely research-based, and that helps us get really strong data to inform the districts that we work with, what's happening on both the district level and school and department level as well. So a lot of times you'll find that surveys are adopted in the private sector and then modified for K through 12, versus everything we do from the ground up is rooted and focused in K through 12 staff. And one thing that became really clear to us was it wasn't enough to just get the data, give it to districts and say, here are the issues. So the second piece was ensuring that we have leadership coaches like Kim, who could support those districts to take next steps with the data. So a lot of times we hear from teachers that they're having survey fatigue. And what we know is that it's typically not survey fatigue, but inaction fatigue. So giving these surveys, not actually doing anything with that data. So that's where our leadership coaches come in. They work with you. They're from all from the education sphere, have been experts in this field for a long time. They've been superintendents, principals, HR directors, folks that have led this work on the ground for years. And they work with you all both on the district level and the school by school level to understand the data, and even more importantly, help plan next steps as well. So we've seen this process really improve teacher satisfaction and retention from those districts that we work with. 94% have said that coaching sessions have been helpful to accomplish their goals as leaders. And a specific example of this is our work in Jefferson County Public Schools in Louisville, Kentucky. So Jefferson County Public Schools is the second largest school district in the state of Kentucky. We began our partnership with this district in 2019, and their retention was at 72%. So within the first year of working with Upbeat, that retention increased to 80%. And now all those schools have gone up to nearly 85% by 21-22. Throughout those years, those were, as we know, the COVID pandemic. So there was a mass exodus of teachers leaving the school district. So to see retention increase throughout those 3 years was a real testament to the work that that district had done, as well as their campus leaders. So here you'll find the Upbeat improvement, leadership coach improvement cycle. And this is performed twice a year from the majority of our districts that we work with, including Sweetwater. So the first piece is the survey administration, which occurred in the month of December, from December 1st to the 22nd. The second and third piece is the analysis of the data and then the subsequent dialogue. So Kim and I reviewed this fall's data and pulled areas of growth from the previous survey administration in the spring. We determined some areas for improvement and highlighted some trends across demographics as well. We've shared this with the district HR team as well as the district leadership team. We also hold district-wide strategies and work to devise action plans with key district stakeholders as well. Next is a support piece. So this is when the principal consulting sessions with Ken come into play. So they meet together and they look over their campus-specific data, talk about some areas of celebration. What are some things that are going really well within the campus? And what are potential areas to focus on and better support teachers? The next piece is the action. We hope principals and district leaders will implement those strategies and action items to continue increasing teacher satisfaction and retention. So the main goals and focus areas for Sweetwater this fall was to maintain strong participation. This was a key area in the spring, and I'll show in a moment the numbers there, as well as focus in the areas of professional development and work-life balance. You can see here the participation rates from the fall survey. So again, this was completed from December 1st to December 22nd. So with your teachers, an extremely strong participation rate amongst the staffing group, 355 total completions, and that's 95% of the district's teachers, which is just fantastic. For reference, the Upbeat average is around 80%. So this participation rate is a real testament to the work that principals have done, district leaders have done, and hopefully teachers have become more trusting of the survey as well. Non-instructional staff, so these are staff that work in the school buildings, but don't directly instruct students. So those could be your custodians, your secretaries, nurses, those types of positions. So 188 total completions and 84% of that staffing group participated. And then finally, your department staff, which are folks that report to supervisors and work in departments like HR, 214 total completions and 85% of those staffing group completed. So really great participation amongst all three groups. And I will pass it over to Kim.
So as we looked at the data in the spring, we identified the following. So appreciation, up 15% for teachers, up 5% for non-instructional staff, and up 11% for department staff. Most of this based on question 21, which indicated that 78% of teachers shared that teachers are recognized publicly when they do outstanding work, which we just saw a testament to that as we came on this evening. Instructional leadership, 11% increase for teachers. It focused mostly on question 13, which was 87% of teachers shared that the principal at their school communicates a clear vision for teaching and learning. Principal trust, up 10% for teachers and up 4% for non-instructional staff. It was focused mainly on question 10, which was, it indicated that 83% of teachers shared that the principal at their school looks out for the well-being of teachers. And then voice and leadership, up 10% for teachers and up 14% for department staff. Question 25 indicated that 65% of department staff share that leaders in their department actively seek input from employees when making important decisions. So these were all increases from the spring 2023 to fall 2023 data. By campus, you can see on the left-hand side, you have each campus, so Stagecoach, Head Start, Pilot Butte, et cetera. And it shows in the center column the growth. So if you look at the fall engagement score on the right-hand side, we have an 11% growth for Stagecoach. Head Start was 11, Pilot Butte was 11, Walnut was 10, Rock Springs Junior High up 8, Black Butte up 7, and Rock Springs High School up 5. So this is what we call a heat map. And it's a different way of looking at the data. For me, it's visually appealing, I have to say. But we look at questions C2 and C9. We have professional development and work-life balance. If you look at the yellow, so the green is very positive. The yellow is somewhat positive, and the red, there's work to be done to move in the positive direction. And you can see number of responses to each category are in the dark gray area, and it lists above that each school. So you can take a look at, Dallas, are you able to hover over that to show what those numbers are? Or no? No. Okay, it's just a screenshot. Okay. So this gives you an overall view, a different perspective than looking at the questions individually with the percentages. So it's a different way of looking at the data. And then focus areas of growth, we mentioned this earlier. So professional development, you can see the lighter blue is spring 2023, and the most recent survey, fall 2023. You can see there's been tremendous growth in both of those areas. So it's just another way, a bar graph of looking at the same data, but it's very interesting to see this. And I've had a lot of great conversations with administrators around this data. So then areas for improvement for teachers and non-instructional staff, professional development. So 69% for teachers and 72% for non-instructional staff, mostly focusing on question 6, which indicated that 59% of teachers share that the professional development available to them is a good use of their time. As far as work-life balance goes, it was 67% for teachers. Question 27 indicated that 72% of teachers shared that they feel confident that they can maintain their daily workload for the long term. And then cultural competence, 66% for teachers and 64% for non-instructional staff. Question 66 demonstrated that 73% of teachers shared that they feel prepared to engage in conversation about racism and other forms of discrimination with their students.
And I'd just like to make a quick note here to comment on the growth. So although these are areas for improvement for the district, you can see next to these individual questions that they have grown in double digits on nearly every one. And that speaks to the intentionality of the district and the campus administrators in addressing these.
And then as far as department staff goes, areas for improvement, cultural competence, 41% positive. Question 46 indicated that 41% of department staff shared as a staff, they openly discuss issues of race, ethnicity, and culture in their department. Employee voice and leadership, 62% positive. Question 26 indicated that 59% of department staff shared that employees in their department play an active role in shaping department policies. And resources and facilities, 64% positive. Question 20 showed 54% of department staff share that their department has the funding it needs to meet schools' needs. And also, as Dallas just mentioned, if you look at the end, it shows the growth. So up 9 for cultural competence, up 13 for employee voice and leadership, and up 5 for resources and facilities.
So this was just a very high level view of the district level data. So we just wanted to share an overview of the growth that Sweetwater has seen from the spring survey. So just to comment, the spring survey was administered in April and the second survey was administered in December. And within those months, you've seen tremendous growth in several key categories within the Upbeat survey, which is again a testament to to all the work the district and campus leadership have done, as well as some areas for improvement to potentially focus on throughout the spring semester this year. So that concludes our presentation of the high level data. I'll stop sharing my screen and pass it over to you all.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Trustees, any questions? Thank you very much, and we appreciate the work that you're doing to help us reach our goals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us this evening. Hope you all have a great night.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed with item 3B, graduation rates, Rock Springs High School and Black Butte High School, master schedule for 2024, 2025, and curriculum updates.
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe and trustees. Tonight, we are excited to be able to share a presentation that surrounds the 22-23 graduation rates, the secondary master schedule changes and updates from the curriculum lens. The 22-23, oh, Zach, will you pull up that presentation? Sorry about that. Thank you. Go ahead and advance. The 22-23 graduation rates were recently released by the Wyoming Department of Education. Wyoming continues to pride itself to set high standards for all graduates and send students fully prepared for the future workforce. The overall state graduation rate showed a slight decrease, just under 0.5% from 81.8 down to 81.4%. That was the state. The 2018 through 2023 Sweetwater One strategic plan, designed in partnership with our stakeholders, sets high standards for all of our students and assured dedication to providing a high-quality education that will empower and inspire our students to academic excellence. We are very proud of the work that our high schools have done to support our senior class of 2023. Our district graduation rate increased by 3%. We have notable increases in many of our subgroups, including over 13% of an increase in the IEP student graduates. That's the next slide. Thank you, Zach. And over 7% in our lunch eligible students. We are very proud of these graduates as they remained resilient despite the challenges that were faced throughout their time in their high school years. As a district, we have many supports that we put in place to try to increase our student graduation rates and have student success. We have a strong team, next slide, Zach, a strong team of interventionists and grad coaches that really made this possible. We brought in consultants to support teaching and learning. We had summer school and credit recovery that was offered both during Friday school and during summer school. We had our Sweetwater virtual school, as well as professional development and summer academy opportunities for our staff. We also had a lot of opportunities for social emotional supports that were funded through many grants that we were given over the last few years. College and career academies continue to provide a high interest focus for our students, as well as opportunities for job shadowing and internships. The high school principals are excited to share what has been happening in their buildings that moved us forward in this upward trajectory. I will first turn this over to Principal Rosanico.
Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, and members of the board. I'm Barbara Rosanico, the principal of First Eden School, and I'm pleased to be here this evening to present to you the 22-23 graduation data. I am pleased to again report that First Eden has attained 100% graduation rate for the 22-23 school year. In addition, I would like to share some information about what it means to graduate from First Eden School. So these 10 students each successfully completed the necessary credits to earn their high school diploma. On the right side of this slide, you'll see a flow chart which depicts the various components that the state of Wyoming measures when they're determining school accountability. And determine overall readiness, schools are measured on graduation rate, 9th grade credits earned, and post-secondary readiness. The post-secondary readiness indicator measures that students are college, career, and military ready. Of the 10 students who graduated, 70% of them completed the Wyoming Success Curriculum that requires 4 credits each in math, English, and science, 3 credits in social studies, and 2 consecutive years of either CTE, Fine and Performing Arts, or foreign languages. Of these students, 5 of them scored higher than 19 on the ACT, and 7 of them successfully completed a 1,000 level college course. That completes the requirements to be recognized as college ready by the state of Wyoming. In addition, 6 of these students obtained a qualifying score on the ASVAB, which made them designated as military ready, and 100% of them completed the requirements to complete 2 consecutive CTE courses and earn an industry recognized credential, which makes them career ready. While at First Eden School, 70% of these students took advantage of dual and concurrent college courses, earning a combined total of 62.25 college credits, and 70% of them qualified for the Hathaway Grant to assist them with funding their post-secondary education. Since graduation, 80% of those 10 students have been enrolled in or are currently enrolled in college.
Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, trustees, Benjamin Straka, interim principal, Rock Springs High School. It's my honor today, or this evening, to present our graduation rates for Rock Springs High School. Over the course, on that slide there, you'll see over the course of 5 years, our growth has continued to climb. We started in 2018-2019 school year to 72.2% grad rate, 76.7 in 2019-2020. Went to, in 2020-21, 73.1. 2021 to 2022 was a 74.8, and our last year was at 79%. Some of our highlights here that we want to recognize is our graduation rate was actually 79.03%. So, we'll take everything that we can get, so that even that 0.03 is something that we're shooting for. We're hoping to go for an 80% next year. That's really what we'd like to see. Our APS and HOCA, our academy graduates, are graduated at 98%. Our CTE graduates at a 94%. And factors in our last year graduation, some of the things that go into the graduation rate and calculations in there is last year we had 16 non-diploma students that affected our overall score. And for the 23-24 school year, we have 5 non-diploma students already currently in the pipeline. Our cohort loss was 35 students last year and no students as of current status right now. So one of the things that we look at when a freshman enters into the high school, they begin that cohort and they go all the way through. So unfortunately, we lost 35 students that counted against our graduation rate. Currently, we have 357 students in the senior class, which 9 of those have already graduated as of this date. Right now, we have 33 identified seniors compared to 83 last year, not including the virtual high school learners who are not at risk of graduating. Next slide, please. Some of the updates that we have and that we've implemented over the last few years to help us increase our graduation rate, our continued involvement with Don't Ever Stop and our consultants, Dr. Stoll and Mr. Giddings. That ongoing professional development that we've had with them has helped us focus on data and really kind of dig down and look deep. And our achievement and growth is an indicator of that. Our graduation coaches, of course, are highly instrumental in our graduation rate. We definitely couldn't do this without them. Our graduation rate last year at a 79.03%, without their direct efforts, would have been closer to about a 69%. Our relationships are very strong. We believe that even starting with our freshmen, now with our freshman pods, getting them in with 4 core teachers, getting those relationships built, working on our MTSS processes and getting them all together and making a pipeline all the way through to their senior year to make sure that they're on track to graduate. And kind of digging down and looking at where that data is after the first semester of their freshman year, ongoing into their sophomore year and beyond. Our DES, Don't Ever Stop strategies, and our ongoing PD has helped identify what we need to do and where we need to go. Our extended learning opportunities on Friday have been a huge support. We have recovered 109 semesters, 61 learners that have enrolled since the start of the school year. Rock Springs High School also supports Black Butte High School and the virtual high school with that. We host that on our alternate Fridays that are non-professional development days. Our summer school also is a big indicator in this. We've been able to recover 750 semester credits with 273 students being involved. Our evidence-based grading and Canvas, Rock Springs High School also supports, again, Black Butte High School, the virtual high school, and Farson Eden High School in all credit recovery efforts as we host summer school every year. We will continue this into the summer of 2024. Our new eligibility requirements have really stepped up our game too. We laid out this year that we will have a no F policy for our athletes that are involved in either athletics or our activities. And so that no F policy has been a huge success for us, keeping those, especially freshmen, on track to graduate that are new to the school year. All right, I will now turn it over to Mr. Blake at Black Butte High School.
Hello, I'm Mr. I need to move this up, or can you hear me? Just, okay. Okay, so I'm Ms. Bryant Blake. I'm the principal at Black Butte High School. So we're going to go on the next slide. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we did notice that our graduation rate did dip a little bit. But I want to talk about because of our size, 1 or 2 students can really make or break where our graduation year is. Many times students that come to Black Butte High School are already credit deficient, and we have to meet the students where they're at that point. And sometimes graduating on time just isn't in the cards for that students. However, I am happy to say that 2 of our students that didn't graduate last year with their cohort will be graduating this year, and that's what matters in the long game. Go to the next slide. These are just more data for you to look at. You can look at your time. It just kind of breaks it down with IEP students, EL students, lunch eligible, concentrators. We did have 100% of our concentrators, but that was 3 kids. So we were able to get that, and we're actually looking to expand some of our concentrators next year with our new schedule coming up. So we're excited about that. Some of the successes we've had at Black Butte, these are just things we've implemented this year. We are starting to meet every Friday, PD Fridays we have, and we're meeting as Black Butte High School PLCs alone. During the week, we do PLCs with Rock Springs High School for the content piece, but that time actually allows our teachers to cross-curricular plan. We have one group that focuses on math and science, but we pull in our PE teacher. We pull in our foreign language teacher. We also have our social studies, language arts focus, and I'm proud to say that we've actually started doing some cross-curricular projects in our building, and we're seeing the engagement go up. The biggest thing we're also trying to do is doing more speaking and listening. It's not usually a tested skill at the YTOP level, but it's very important so kids can actually know how to interact in life, how to go to a job interview, how do I speak in front of people. So our projects, we really had groups coming out with rubrics, and the kids would actually help assess the kids that were given the projects, giving them feedback, so they kind of had that say in there. Other things we're doing is continued professional development. We actually just got done with, we joined Rock Springs Junior High this last Friday with Don't Ever Stop, Jean and Copper. And it was great to see. I had one of my teachers is actually presenting some of the great things she's doing in her classroom, and she rocked it. Kaylee Han is her name. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, she did a great job. We've already done a lot of the stuff with developing SOPs, coming up with codes of collaboration. So now we're focusing on more of the student goal setting, monitor their learning, and the use of rubrics, exemplars, and student experts. And we're kind of starting to dip our toes, especially with the rubric pieces, so kids kind of know where they're going. I'd also like to say our graduation coach and our interventionist has been instrumental in getting credit recaptured. We're getting kids, we've almost got all of our kids that had a 50 to 59% got their credit recaptured. And then we have some students that are taking Friday school to kind of get that stuff. So they've been really instrumental in helping our kids stay on track to graduate so we can keep them in the building. The next slide is, these are just some pictures that we took. This is actually last week when we did our first couple projects. We had a Harlem Renaissance project where we were tying that into some social studies that they were doing in Mr. Allison's class. And Mrs. Kite, they focused on poetry, a piece of in the Harlem Renaissance, and they had to research them. Then they actually had a kind of music that kind of did that. And all the kids were kind of proud and excited to do those presentations. So I just wanted to share that these are just recent of some of the projects we first implemented. And with that, I'm going to move into the accelerated block schedule 24-25 for the Rock Springs High School and Black Butte High School. So the first slide I'm going to talk about is just kind of talk a little bit about what is an accelerated block. So the accelerated block is a schedule to improve the graduation rate. All students and teachers will be able to see each other them every day. It'll actually help improve daily engagement and allow students to thrive within the 4-day academic calendar week. What is the accelerated block? It's a schedule that meets every day and does not alternate on an A/B does. Students take 4 courses each per semester plus power hour, and for us, we call it den time. Students will have an opportunity to full credit for each course every semester, and 0.5 credit is earned at the quarter of 9 weeks. Some things that are different from the current alternating block versus the accelerated block. Kids typically see 8 classes a week. Well, that's going to be cut down to 4, kind of lowering that cognitive load for some of those students. The credits are still the same. After the first semester, you'll still get 4 credits on the alternating block, but you still get 4 credits on the accelerated block. The other thing is teachers right now are seeing their students every other day. They'll get to see their students every single day, because a lot of times you might not see a kid for 2 or 3 days just because either teacher's out or they're on sports or doing those types of things. It'll actually cut the load of the teachers and how many students you see and build those relationships. So for example, like the high school, 162 down to 81. For Black Butte, it's more 80 down to 40. Teachers teach at the AB block 6 academic classes, and teachers will now teach about 3 academic classes. And then the other thing, classes are extended throughout the school year, and classes are concentrated throughout the quarter and semester. So those are kind of the big differences. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to my colleagues, Steve Akers and Byron Bolin.
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe, Board of Trustees, Superintendent McGovern. So on the screen here, we just want to highlight some of the bullets here, some of the advantages as we go through. A lot of this, we're going to go more in detail as we go through the presentation, but for your convenience, we want to highlight them. So advantages for teachers, we just talked about, you're going to see your students every day, so they're going to be able to strengthen relationships. You're going to see up to 81 students per semester, which is a reduction, so reduce cognitive load for them as well, and building relationships once again. Teachers will teach up to 3 courses per semester, plus their power hour, and grades will be stored by quarter. Power hour will also continue to be used as remediation and enrichment for those kiddos who need that or would like to participate in other activities. And there are also, this is a huge win, opportunities for cross-curricular learning and planning within learning cohorts. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. Mr. Bolin, you want to take the middle part here? Or do you want me to just skip to? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to skip. I'm going to talk about the parent advantage too. So I am a parent as well as an administrator at the high school. So I really wanted to take a moment and share some of those highlights. So students will have a reduced focus on only 4 classes each semester. So again, that reduced cognitive load, reduce anxiety for parents and students over the number of enrolled classes during the school year. The schedule allows for you and your student to develop a strong, consistent relationship with the teachers. That relationship, once again. It allows for your students to explore more educational opportunities with electives and career paths. And it accelerates your students' ability to participate in more advanced electives in their high school career. Furthermore, it allows for your student to participate in more post-secondary opportunities while in high school, and allows for you and your student to receive direct daily support from your teachers. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bolin to talk about students.
The advantages for students. They get to see their teachers every day. I think that one's at the top for a reason. They get the same classes every day. They focus on 4 courses per semester plus Power Hour. They can recoup any credits lost during the school year. Grades are stored by quarter. They can take more college courses at Western. They have time for job shadow and volunteer. Power Hour can be used for remediation and enrichment. And they have opportunities for cross-curricular learning, as well as opportunities for learning cohorts.
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, and members of the board. I'm Hope Downs Lewis. I'm one of the assistant principals at Rock Springs High School. Before we move on, I just want to point out at the bottom of this slide, I want to point out the comparison in time from our current schedule to what we will be seeing under the accelerated block moving to the 24-25 school year. Let me preface this really quickly with this is for a majority of our students. Those students who are with us all day, this wouldn't include students that are like on release schedule, or maybe they have a dual or concurrent enrollment class at the college or anything like that. But for a majority of our students, currently, they see their teachers 3 hours a week. Under the accelerated block, that time would increase to 6.75 hours. And that would be 90-minute blocks times 4 times a week. Plus an additional 45 minutes, that would be seeing their Power Hour teacher once a week. Currently, in order to earn a half credit, students have 54 contact hours with their teachers. Moving to the accelerated block, that'll be approximately 60.75 hours for a half credit. And then in order to earn 1 credit, currently, students have 108 contact hours with their teachers. Moving forward to the accelerated block schedule, it'll be 121.5 hours. Next slide, Zach. So I want to go through a couple of example student schedules. It is very important to understand a couple of things. Number one, we do not have all of our student course requests in, so none of these things are set in stone. We haven't done staffing. We haven't done any of those things. This is just a visual for everyone to see, and then for parents in the audience as well, just maybe to give you something to relate to. But this is in no way set in stone for any student at this time. So the first example that I want to talk about is the freshman sample accelerated block. So as you can see, this particular student might have Algebra 1 all first semester, so that would be for quarter 1, quarter 2, and then they would have PE for the first quarter, health for the second quarter, and then they would pick up, a couple of electives. So for quarter 1, food nutrition basics, and then quarter 2, computer science, and then they would have world history. And then for the second semester, they would, whoa, I'm missing something here. So actually part of the words got cut off. I apologize about this. So quarter 1, they would have foundations of Algebra 1. I apologize about that. Some of the words went missing. And then quarter 2, Algebra 1. Quarter 3 would be Algebra 1, and then quarter 4 would be Foundations of Geometry. So this would give potentially a student math all year that might be struggling or might need, may come to us from the junior high without proficiency in math, and then they would be able to pre-see Foundations of Geometry, which would help them see in advance what they might see for the next year, so geometry. And then their schedule would switch. So I apologize about this, but a couple of errors on this one. Yeah, that's okay. Let's move on to the next one, Zach, if you will. So this is an example of potentially an advanced freshman schedule, someone that might come to us at proficiency or maybe above proficiency. And for this particular example, I used so in the first semester, quarter 1, quarter 2, they have band, PE, and health, and then advanced geometry, and then world history. For the second semester, instead of, changing up their electives, which they could in this case, but they don't have to. Perhaps they would take, instead of world history, maybe they want to take advanced world history, or in lieu of some of their electives, they could opt to take a more academic track. This could also be the case with math, for instance. So let's say for the first semester, they want to take advanced geometry. And then in the second semester, again, in lieu of some electives, they could opt to take something like advanced algebra 2. So there's the opportunity for that. Zach, next slide, please. Okay, this is an example, and I know we've been talking a lot about, the 4-period day. This is an example that is a little bit different. So through the feedback that we've been collecting and the conversations that we have had, because we don't know everything quite yet, and we're working through a lot of the nuances, and we're very appreciative of the feedback that we've gotten. This particular example does show a alternating block, A day, B day for one particular area, and that is seminary and band. So as you can see, this particular student would have geometry and history, and then maybe a foreign language. And then for quarter 1 and quarter 2, which is the first semester, they would have seminary on A days and band on B days. This would allow them to take some of the things that they might want to take and not be worried that they won't have enough room in their schedule for other electives and things. This would also be similar for a student in the case of choir. So if we have a student that wants choir, they want band, they want seminary, there is the opportunity to alternate those on A day, B days. That won't necessarily mean that they will have just 4 classes. They may have to pick up, in this case, 5 classes if they alternate seminary and band. But let's say, for instance, a student wants seminary, band, and choir. That would mean that for all of their electives, they would have alternating A and B days. And right now, it is looking like our performing arts area is the best place to do that. So it might be, seminary and band alternating one period, and then choir and stagecraft as an example. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so the final example that I want to go to is just an example of maybe an upper level kiddo that is in dual enrollment classes as well as perhaps band and choir. So in this particular schedule, this student would have dual and concurrent class in the morning for both semesters, Algebra 3 trig for both quarters, Algebra 3 trig for quarter 1 and 2, American government, and then as you can see, band and choir in this case are alternating A day, B day, and they would have band and choir all year. And then looking at the second semester, so quarter 3 and quarter 4, they would pick up some additional electives in lieu of their math class or their government class. They could pick up an upper level language and an upper level science in this particular case. Okay. All right. With that, I will turn it back over to Mr. Bowen to speak about some of our FAQs.
So we got to sit down with band, choir, and also have a discussion with the seminary teacher. And we are aware of the concerns of the community regarding these classes and the ability for their children and for the students to continue to participate. And just like Ms. Downs has shown in some of the sample schedules, we believe that our best option at this time is to alternate these 3 options on an A-B alternating block. Another concern was regarding activities and athletics as it pertains to eligibility. We also contacted WASHA, that's the Wyoming High School Activities Association. And they said it's not going to change anything with our eligibility whatsoever. And now I'll turn the time over to Mr. Straka.
So our special education students, we've had conversations with our special education department and the directors at the central office here at the CAB. We will be looking at how to maximize our co-teaching opportunities. We've been trying to co-teach now for the last couple of years and found strength in that. This allows us to strengthen that even more. We're able to service in multiple content areas also during our power hour sessions. English and math retention. We will offset social studies, English, and math and science each semester. In addition, we will be planning 10 minutes of intentional math and ELA practice every single day during power hour. We're also looking at adding different enrichment opportunities through elective classes that they can take on that off quarter. So it's very possible, as Ms. Downs was going through those schedules, that a student enrolled in Algebra 1 first quarter, second quarter might be able to take an elective course that would be tied towards either YTOP standards or ACT standards. So a little bit more in-depth focus on those specific math standards. We would be able to look at that through policy and creating pilot courses through our curriculum department. Our college relationships, Rock Springs High School has met with college, and they are supportive of this change and are willing to work collaboratively with us to maintain opportunities for our students to participate in the dual and concurrent enrollment classes. Confirmed dates right now we have for math and English placement tests are March 1st, which is going to be held at Rock Springs Satellite High School. And then we also have dual and concurrent enrollment parent meetings on March 27th and April 3rd at the main campus, Rock Springs High School. All right, and Ms. Gardner, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you everyone for sharing that. So from the curriculum lens, I wanted to give you a few updates. So as we look at the initiatives, thank you, Zach, for advancing that slide, from the Wyoming Department of Education and the State Board of Education, we know that Profile of a Graduate was developed in partnership with students, families, educators, community leaders, and employers from across Wyoming. You're probably familiar with that diagram there on the side, on the left-hand side of that slide. That is the profile of a graduate. The purpose of the profile was to articulate the knowledge, skills, and mindsets that students need to thrive after graduation, to establish a North Star for state and local policies, as well as creating a strongly aligned educational system for Wyoming. So that's why the State Board of Education really went to work on that profile of a graduate. Using the profile of a graduate work, you might recall this fall that the governor created a partnership with the WDE as well as the University of Wyoming College of Education called the RIDE Initiative. Wyoming's Future of Learning Collaborative has accepted applications for the second round of pilot districts within the RIDE Collaborative. The goal of that project, and those are the two images that they use on their on all of the RIDE website and paperwork that we get. The goal of this project is to rethink and innovate key elements of instruction and assessment, and to support the work of the state board's profile of a graduate. The focus of this work involves personalized learning and flexible pathways, which will allow students' interests to drive relevant, authentic learning to proficiency, student choice, when students are given a voice and a choice in learning, as well as competency-based learning, in which learning is based on progression, on demonstrated learning rather than seat time. Let me clarify. Hold on, I need a drink. I don't really need a drink either. Sorry. Okay. To clarify, this is not a state rollout of standards-based grading. Standards are what a student should know and learn in each grade level or content area, while competency focuses on what they will do with what they know and may involve multiple content areas. So this is not a rollout of standards-based grading. When we say competency-based learning, it's all of the pieces that put together what the State Board of Education wants our learners to know and be able to do when they graduate from high school. Okay, so I wanted to clarify that. These components are being rolled out from both of these state initiatives together. We are applying to be a part of the pilot districts for round 2 of the collaborative. So I will keep you posted. They're due here this at the end of the week, and so we hope that we are selected to be a part of that. Next slide, Zach. So meanwhile, the state has also been working on an initiative, and if you've probably seen this, to reduce the number of standards required to be taught in math, science, computer science, PE, health and safety, and fine and performing arts. These are currently, the reduction of standards are currently out for public comment until March 21st. The information on the public comment sessions can be accessed on the WDE website under the media release on January 31st. The reduction of standards, as you see on the chart on the right-hand side of this slide, note a reduction of 69% of the standards from where they are currently. So it's quite a reduction. That's the proposal. That being said, Sweetwater One is in a precarious place when it comes to the adoption of new resources. As you can see in our long-range plan, which is on the left-hand side of this slide, for curriculum adoption, we are currently in a place where we would be finalizing our decisions on adopting resources to support the guaranteed and viable curriculum, math curriculum maps that have been designed based on the current state standard requirements. With the standard reduction out for comment until the end of March, and then final drafts to be updated based on the feedback from the public comments, plus then the next phase of standard reduction targeting ELA standards and Sweetwater One's next resource adoption being ELA, I feel like we are in a predicament. And as the Chief Academic Officer, trust me, this is not decisions that I take lightly. I'm pulling together our Community Curriculum Council, my CCC, and a team of teacher stakeholders to assist with these important decisions that we are facing. Our focus on teaching the standards that are on the state blueprint, which is what we've really targeted in the last year and a half, must remain primary in our decisions. Resources and materials must support classroom instruction with the standards. We have options such as continuing a contract with the previously adopted material company, adopting blindly without the firm decisions of state standards, or finding other ways, tools, and resources to support our teachers. Again, this is not something that I take lightly. One of the resources that we are looking at is an instructional program called Beyond Textbooks, which sets the pacing for our teachers based on the standards which design our guaranteed and viable curriculum in the form of a calendar map. Plus, it gives teachers lessons, materials, and starting points so that they won't have to develop things from scratch, but can also be modified and bring the art of teaching into their classrooms and to their students. I've used Beyond Textbooks in Arizona. I'm familiar with it. There are 140 districts in 10 states that use this. Every year, they analyze your data and see so they take our test scores, see what we did well on, what we didn't, rearrange. They provide professional development for teachers and administrators. They also have scaffolded reviews for our grade levels, continual practice, review of our standards, ACT prep materials for high school teachers, and interventions and accommodations, as well as common assessments, K through 12, in all subject areas. I will continue to keep you updated as we make important decisions and as the state updates curriculum and assessment decisions. Are there any questions?
Questions? Mr. Wright?
Holy smokes. There's a lot of information on a lot of topics. So I'll try to touch on a couple things and probably revisit them later tonight. But first and foremost on graduation data, I wanted to commend Rock Springs High School for the increased graduation rates. I know there's a lot of cynicism out there on why that increase might be there due to, differing graduation standards and so forth, but had a really good conversation with the Director of Member Services at WSBA this last week, and she brought to my attention something that I think our community needs to understand. And it's still, a lot for me to digest, but as Ms. Rosanico showed on her slides, our schooling environment has to be very flexible nowadays. 20 years ago, it was college prep, right? We wanted all of our kids to go to college, and we were trying to graduate being college ready. And while that's still for a lot of students out there, we have a lot who are just trying to get career ready or military ready. And I really appreciated the stats that you had towards all those different things, but it goes to show the flexibility that we have to have in our curriculum and in all the things. So to the point of the graduation rate, even if there might be students who had to graduate to, a different credit plan or what have you, what it taught them in the long run is what's most important. And we got a lot of feedback on our strategic plan surveys that talked about what are your hopes and dreams for your kids? And it was that they're safe, that they're healthy, that they're happy, that they persevere, that they learn to be dedicated to something, and while we want to see the graduation rates increase, the fact that they're gaining this from this process is what's most important. So hats off to all of you on graduation rates and everything that's going on there. And I hope to see those continue to improve. The other thing I wanted to ask on this accelerated schedule is I understand this is in the works, so I credit that there's still changes possibly to be made and everything. But do we have any data to support a schedule like this as far as like state testing where we're alternating these core subjects and, maybe a student's not testing on one? That I saw that you mentioned having 10 minutes of math practice, during power hour or what have you, but have we seen any sort of data where when a student hasn't had math since the fall and they take a test in the spring, how that affects them?
Let's see, you guys are familiar with the other districts that have done this, right? You want to talk about that, Hope?
So I guess the most relevant data we have is currently Kelly Walsh is on this schedule. And they do have a graduation rate in the high 80s. And they've been on the accelerated block schedule for quite some time. We did have an opportunity to have a conversation with their head principal about a year ago, Michael Britt, and kind of talked about some things that they're doing, and they use something similar to our idea. It's called Freckle Math. I will be very honest and say I'm not familiar with that, but they have implemented like a 10-minute every single day practice kind of thing. And we want to extend that a little bit further with specific to the YTOP practice or specific to ACT, in addition to potentially bringing on an ACT prep math class. Natrona County High School, which is within the same district, Natrona 1, they are on their second year in the accelerated block model. Their graduation rate looked very similar to ours over the last couple of years. So that is the most relevant data that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious for us to kind of watch that as the schedule unfolds. And then one other question, Hope, maybe you can answer. Sounds like, there's a handful of students with the interest in band, choir, seminary, what have you. And I heard the alternating accelerated block schedule, if that's the right way to say it. But what I'm confused about is how you're fitting 3 courses into 2 an alternating.
Yeah.
I don't follow that.
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to like students that would like those 3 things, we are going to have to offset a 4th choice somehow. Right now, we're still thinking the performing arts area. So it could be a theater class, it could be a guitar class, it could be a stagecraft or advanced stagecraft, which will help our CTE kids. CTE kids, they like choir, but they also like the hands-on stuff. And And so we do have some options for that. So you're right, we couldn't do just 3 options.
Makes sense.
Unless it is an upper level kid, like a 11th grader or a 12th grader, and they don't need other options for graduation credits. We're going to try to keep all freshmen and all sophomores in our building all the time for sure. But for those upper level kids, they may not need it, and they may, just want their choice on alternating A day or B day, and then they may want to have a free period for the other alternating day.
Okay, great, thanks. And
Thank
then one last comment.
Sure.
This very last slide that we had here on talking about some of the standards, I thought this might just be a good point. Later in our meeting today, I'll throw out a suggestion for board's consideration on something that we might do going forward, but I felt like it might do the teachers some justice to help our community understand that this exact situation is why our teachers are always struggling to teach to standards, because once they get the hang of it, things change. And so while this looks great from what I know right now, because a reduction in standards would be helpful, the way that I can best explain this is it's like, those familiar with track, if you're running a 100-yard dash and you're told that you have to do it in 10 seconds, you train and train and train and prepare for that. And so our teachers have these standards, and they train and train and train and prepare. And then a year or two down the road, it's, well, we're going to change them. So now you have to jump 10 hurdles, and it's 110 meters, and you have to do it in 8 seconds. And that's kind of what we're up against. So I think that, getting some consistency, reducing the standards, allowing, as you mentioned, teachers to teach again would be great. But just for the community's understanding, I think that's the best way that I can describe it, and kind of help the conversation be had between the parents and the teachers on exactly why this target continuously moves.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. We had a meeting, the curriculum directors with the superintendents from all around the state with our WDE, and the curriculum directors, we're asking about the accountability, which is our tests, our YTOP tests, and when those would see the reduction, and they said that could take 3 to 5 years. So we're in this place where they're saying we're going to reduce these numbers, but we'll still be accountable on the YTOP for these standards until we reduce them. And that's where we have to make a decision that's best for everyone when it comes to spending money on a resource that might not be something that really works for us in a year, 2 years, or 3 years. And so that's where, thank you for explaining that so nicely to the community, because it is very challenging for our teachers, and we know that. So thank you.
To piggyback on Mr. Wright, it's no secret that teachers have been on standard overload. I mean, it's literally impossible to teach all the standards. By the reduction in standards, my understanding is it will allow teachers to go deeper into the standards that we do have. So it's a deeper understanding and a deeper implementation, if you will, of the standards that we do have, and not have so many standards. So that, and that's kind of a trend that I've been seeing with the state now. I mean, even the legislators are talking about, we've got too many standards.
Yes.
But the process is, which ones do we eliminate and which ones do we prioritize?
Do I hear the barbs
I-
behind me? Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that Farson is on a modified accelerated block, and it does allow a lot of opportunities for students to catch up work with the schedule that they currently have at the high school. If you take senior English and you're not successful, you're just not a graduate. Our students are able to take senior English before graduation. So if they're not successful, they're able to recapture that credit and still graduate on time. So our students actually take junior English first block of their junior year and senior English second block of their junior year. And that allows them to do those college classes that we talked about. And so then they can take 1010 and 2005 at Farson under the direction of one of our English teachers who's familiar to them, and they can kind of get the hang of college, but still in the high school environment where there's somebody keeping a look, watching after them, those kind of pieces. For our math students, it allows them to, those students who can go at an accelerated rate are able to get further along the math continuum and get to those Algebra 2 trig classes that they might not have been able to take if they weren't able to double up on classes. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, I forgot.
I'm curious too about the process that was utilized to come up with this accelerated block schedule. Is there anyone that can answer that question? And by process, who was involved in that decision-making, I guess, is what I'm talking about.
So yeah, it was mostly led by our former head principal, Mr. Glenn Supis. And it really started with just kind of, so we have a guiding coalition that is just a group of teachers that help us with our decision matrix and make decisions and things like that. And they're kind of the liaison from the administrative staff to the teachers. And it kind of just started with ideas with them. And then about a year ago, we surveyed the staff, and it kind of talked about the questions, kind of talked about, like, would you like to see an alternating block? Would you like to see a 7-period day? Would you like to see accelerated block? So there were kind of just a lot of options and some questions on there. And what the overwhelming response was is that the teachers really wanted to see their kids every day. I think that it was split pretty much 50-50 between some kind of block schedule and the 7-period day, which is, as you probably remember, we had many years ago. Logistically, though, a 7-period day is very, very difficult, given the fact that we have 2 campuses. We also we have kids from Black Butte High School coming to us for some classes. We have Lowell. We have the virtual school. We have a lot of things that make a 7-period day logistically not feasible. I think that's, a majority of what a lot of people that said they wanted to see their kids every day meant. So the accelerated block, after, talking to our guiding coalition, having conversations with our staff members, surveying them, a little bit formally, talking with the principal at Kelly Walsh, because we started to look at, what are all the other high schools doing in the state and what are their schedules like? And we did find that many of them that are performing well were on something like a 7-period day, except for Kelly Walsh. So we reached out about a year ago. One of our former assistant principals, Dr. Cynthia Porter, had known Michael Britt from the time that she was in Natrona. So we reached out and we had a conversation with him in Mr. Supis's office roughly about a year ago. And then the idea kind of just stemmed from that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Mrs. Thompson?
Madam Chair, I guess I just have a question about the accelerated block. And my question, I guess, would be mostly about the credit recovery. Are we expecting to see that decrease in the amount of students that need credit recovery because they will be accessing those teachers daily?
That is a great question. Ultimately, that is our hope. But right now, so as an example, when a student takes world history, okay, as an example, and they take it for the full year, if they fail world history for the first semester, we try credit recapture, we try credit recovery, we try to use Friday school, we try to do all of those things, but oftentimes kids end up not having the opportunity to make that class up until summer. So that's quite a long time away. Or, we have kids and families that travel during the summer and then they don't make it up. And then before we know it, our freshmen are not on track to graduate on time. They're scrambling to make up credits in time for graduation. And our hope under the accelerated block is this. When they fail a class for the first semester, so again, going back to world history, we're very hopeful that they're just going to get to repeat it right away. So instead of moving into summer school or anything like that, okay, you failed, you get to try that again. You get to do that again right away this next semester.
Okay, and then I have a other question as well. So I'm looking at the different schedules that you guys have proposed, and I understand that these are very, they need a lot of work and you're working on it.
Ignore the first one.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking at that and I'm looking at kids who are struggling. That's who I'm concerned about, because if you look at our grad rates, the subcategories are the IEP, the ELL, the lunch. They're all more at risk than students who are not facing those issues. So are these schedules going to be able to help those subgroups of students as well as, the typical, as we would like to call them, normal students, or and you even had advanced students? I guess I'm just looking at that cohort in particular, just because we do know that they do have a less graduation rate than other students. And will they still be able to take electives, or are they just going to be hammered all day long with curriculum?
I really appreciate you asking that question. We've had some really good conversations with our special education teachers over the last several days. And one of the things that we think this schedule will do is help us build schedules based upon need, which is really important. That's what an IEP is. It's an individualized education plan. So one of the things is we are going to try to use the co-teaching model as much as possible. But we do realize that students will have to be pulled from their general education instruction from time to time when the need arises. So for example, let's say that you're a student in my math class and we have a co-taught class. If you need to be, you'll attend my class as normal every single day. But if you need individualized instruction, you would be pulled based upon need during power hour. So that's that 45-minute block at the end of the day. If it's, they need 45 minutes of an individualized instruction, then we would pull them that once a week from the math class. But let's say you do need 90 minutes. The options on the table, they pull you during the math class and something else during power hour, in lieu of maybe an additional 45 minutes in an elective or something like that. When it comes to EL students, so that's another special population that we need to take really, pay really close attention to. Again, this is going to allow us the ability to be based on need. When students come from us from another country and their English acquisition skills are not so great, they take something called the access testing or the access test, and that tells us their language level. When they're at a level 1 or 2, they will definitely, that's when they're first getting here, first learning the language. They need that intensive instruction in, multilingual instruction every single day until their language acquisition is good enough to be, mainstream all of the time. But so if they come to us in level 1 or 2, they, in lieu of an elective, they will be in an EL class every day for 90 minutes. Throughout the entire year. If they progress to a level 3, for instance, so that's getting closer to exiting the program, their language is getting much better. We are going to start them off in an EL class to begin the school year, and then we will closely monitor them by quarter. So let's say after the first quarter, they have developed the skills, they've worked really hard, and they have the ability to go mainstream for the whole day. We will allow that to happen at the quarter instead of needing to wait, until the end of the year. When they move from a level 3 to a level 4, they will be pulled only for power hour, and we can pull our monitoring kids too during power hour. So more than ever, this is going to allow us to take what is supposed to be an individualized education plan for our IEP students and our EL students and truly implement it on a case-by-case basis.
Other questions?
Great questions. Thank you.
Sure, Presley. Yeah.
Oh, right on the wrong side.
There you go.
Okay,
You're
you're
up.
gonna have to come back up here. Sorry. I just had a question about academy classes. So I know that for both the apps and the HOKA academies, we have a HOKA class or an apps class that we attend every other day, but it's throughout the whole year. And then your senior year, you take it for 2 class periods. Would that work just like the band and the choir classes, or would it just be an elective that you would take up the whole year, especially for your senior year when it's supposed to be 2 class periods, not just 1?
So that's one of those nuances that I'm still collecting feedback on. I have had the opportunity to meet with our apps and HOCA teachers a little bit, but not enough. And so that's something that we're kind of working out. And we are going to definitely talk about, is the AB alternate, because there's 4 your sophomore year and your junior year, there's 4 classes that you have to take. So it may work out best. On an AB alternating block, it may work out best where it's 2 classes first semester and 2 classes next semester. It more than likely is going to be the case with HOCA 3 and APS 3 that will be a year-long single block class, but to still get those 2 credits. We are working all of that out. But what I do know is we are going to do what is best for students in conjunction with the teachers. And the academies are very important to us in Rock Springs High School. So we will do whatever it takes for those schedules to make sure that they continue to be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? I guess what I would ask is that you just keep us updated on this. And I want to emphasize to the public, this is not a board decision. Building schedules are the responsibility of the building administration. These are not approved by the board. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, item number 4 is an update on the superintendent search. Sweetwater County School District number 1. Board of Trustees will be interviewing 4 candidates. Those candidates pictures are on the website along with their resumes. Dr. Joseph Libby is Superintendent of Schools for Sibley East Public Schools in Gaylord, Minnesota. He will be interviewing on Thursday, the 15th, this Thursday. Excuse me. Teresa Chalk is the Superintendent of Schools for Lincoln County School District number 1 in Kemmer, Wyoming. She will be interviewing next Tuesday, which is the 19th, 20th. And Dr. Thomas Mayer is Superintendent of Schools for Bellevue Community School District in Bellevue, Iowa. He will be interviewing on Wednesday, the 21st. Okay, thank you. And then Keith Harris is the Assistant Superintendent for Dickinson Public Schools in Dickinson, North Dakota, and he will be interviewing on Thursday, February 22nd. Each of those interview days, the night before, either in Wamsutter or Farson, there will be a meet and greet so that they will be able to interview with or meet and greet with those constituents in their respective communities. We couldn't get both of them in, so they are going to be alternating. So they'll have one or the other. So we do have candidates will spend their days touring schools and meeting with district and community stakeholders. Stakeholders are invited to attend a community forum, which will be held from 6 to 7 p.m. here in this boardroom for candidates on their respective interview day. A link for those who wish to view a live stream of the forum will be released prior to the interviews. These live streams will not be available to view at a later time. They are live streams, so you have to view it at the time. So from 6 to 7 p.m., you can get on the channel and view it, but they have to be viewed during the time that the forum is being conducted. Each day will conclude with the candidates board interview, which will take place at 7:30 p.m. during an executive session. And we hope to have a decision by the end of the month so that hopefully a contract can be offered by the end of the month. There appear to be concerns regarding what questions will be asked during the interview forums. Since these forums are part of our interview process, constituents need to understand all questions must follow state and federal regulations. And questions could be submitted until noon earlier today. So WSBA is vetting the questions to be asked. There are just simply some questions that, quite frankly, are illegal to ask. So that's why the questions are being vetted by WSBA. It's not us that is vetting them. We want to make sure that a candidate's, an applicant's candidacy is not jeopardized by the use of improper or illegal questions. So if that's why we're doing what we're doing. So hopefully that brings everybody up to speed as far as the candidate search. Okay.
Madam Chair, may I add something?
Sure.
So also on our website, there is an electronic feedback submission that you guys can click on it, or you can scan the QR code, and you are more than welcome to provide your feedback. You can answer all kinds of little questions on each of the candidates. There's simple questions on who you're responding about, and then they have questions about how you felt about that particular candidate. We will be reviewing all of those, so feel free to do that. That's also on the same link on the website.
And we will be looking at all of that data prior to our decision making. Any other comments? Okay, item number 5, communications and correspondence or public comment. If a member of the public initiates specific complaints or charges against an employee in order to protect the employee's rights to privacy and due process, the board will only hear those complaints or charges in closed session. The board encourages concerned individuals to file complaints using the appropriate district complaint procedure and appropriate forms, which can be obtained from the district's website. As per policies B, DDH, and KD, please limit your comments to the board to one time. If your comments have previously been submitted in writing, please refrain from addressing the board a second time. Written comments will be posted to the agenda in the written public comment section below. Written public comments must be received by 1:00 p.m. on the day of the board meeting and will be available for the public and trustees to view, but will not be read aloud at the board meeting. Policies B, DDH, and KD continue to state, questions asked by the public shall, when possible, be answered immediately by the chairman or referred to staff members present for reply. Questions requiring investigation shall be referred to the board or administrative staff for consideration and later response. No written public comments have been received, so public comment is now open. Please state your name. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Casey DeMori, and I'm the co-chair of the Rock Springs High School Parent Involvement Team. I'm here to provide our monthly PIT report. So obviously, the last couple of meetings have primarily focused on the new proposed high school accelerated block schedule, which is probably no surprise. While this may seem to have been met with a lot of resistance, we actually think people are receptive and even excited about the idea of change. There were like 70 people-ish in attendance at the last meeting. Some were online, some were face-to-face. But the community was actually really involved in a really engaging conversation, including what ifs, offering a lot of questions and a lot of suggestions. The number of potential issues and viable solutions being discussed was actually really impressive and vital to the change management process. I probably don't need to go over the range of questions and concerns that came up because we've definitely talked about seminary and band and electives and all of those things. So I'll skip that, but our general takeaway was that with the right leadership and adequate resources available to assist the students and the teachers in the personalized learning experience, like possibly maybe registrars or additional counselors available to meet with the students, that this change has potential to be an exciting shift for Rock Springs High School. Principals Downs, Lewis, and Stratka have been very welcoming to questions and suggestions to ensure that this is an effective rollout. In addition to that, we're excited to see the graduation rates in Sweetwater 1 improving, and we are anxiously waiting to see if our ACT, YTOP, ASVAB, other work readiness scores are going to follow that, as we believe that that will really validate the graduation data and demonstrating positive growth at Rock Springs High School. And just one last reminder that we're encouraging everybody to reach out to our elected officials to share the community needs for a new high school. Please reach out to us if you haven't seen the talking points or the facts, and if you need their contact information. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment?
Board, my name is Isaac Knezovich. I addressed you last fall. After that address, I was asked to sit on the Strategic Planning Committee. During that time, I asked for the then current strategic plan, 2018 to 2023, and this is it. After sitting on the strategic planning team, I was asked to give my opinion of it. I sent Ms. McGovern and Chair Jellicoe an email. Before I did that, I called Chair Jellicoe because I rather do things in person, face to face. I hate emails. I didn't get a response. That email was sent December 4th. Last week, I sent another email letting people know that I'm coming tonight to talk about this issue. I got 2 emails. Board, I viewed this process through the lens of a CEO with about 17 years experience. 325 employees, 400 volunteers, $55 million budget. I can tell you what we produced is not a strategic plan. It's words. I truly believe in the transformative power of strategic planning. Strategic planning took my agency from having a training unit that fit in this area right here to a $48 million training facility that was built in conjunction with the United States military, first ever done. Internationally recognized training arm. First agency in the United States and only agency in the United States to this date to have its training curricula certified at the national and international level. Training and education is the most vital thing that we do, especially for these kids. Board Member Wright, you need to think about your statement concerning the graduation rates. If any of those standards changed, your data points mean nothing anymore. What you have is a baseline year this year because you have new data points. You need to think about that. 7 period versus what we just heard. You understand that you're reducing your students' exposure to academic learning to 57%.
Thank you, Mr. Knezovich.
Thank you.
Further public comment? Further public comment?
My name is Josh Sorensen. I've got a couple of questions. I find it odd that we didn't address Mr. Super Stephen at the meeting. I feel like we should have been talked about. He's the administrator of our high school. I realize that a lot of those things are confidential, but I feel like we need to know more as a community. One thing I do want to know is Mr. Stupas and Mrs. Stupas still getting paid?
That is a personnel issue and it is confidential.
It's not confidential in the end. We can ask for records of who got paid what. So we're going to find out eventually.
It'll be in the
But
warrants.
if we're not getting anything out of them, why should we pay them?
They
If they
sub-
chose to leave.
They have submitted resignations, which will be addressed later in the agenda.
All right, that's fair. I really want to focus more time on, well, accelerated block schedule. We keep talking about matching Kelly Walsh, but what we're going to do is try to do this in 4 days. They do it in 5 days. They've got more access for students to their kids or to teachers. And I think that we're foolish to think that we can just try to pick and choose what they do. But I love the idea of going after what Kelly Walsh or other school districts that are successful do. But it takes 5 days to do what they do. And I think that we're being silly not to just change that back to 5 days. Because we can't, like a sports athlete or whatever, you couldn't practice 4 days, the other team practice 5, and think you're going to need to keep up with them. So I love the idea of trying to look at other districts, but I don't think we're taking the full things in. But lastly, most importantly, the new high school. I just want to put a plug out there for everybody to reach out to their representatives. I'm wondering if the board can enlighten us at all on who we need to contact more. Is there certain people that are like, I know the mayor said that Senator Hickman is actively fighting to have our funding taken away. So how do we address, how can we best address it?
I actually will be attending a legislative forum this weekend in Cheyenne. We have made multiple trips, as you know, to Cheyenne. We are in pretty constant contact with legislators, not only local, but statewide. So we are pressing forward. And I'd encourage the public as well as our staff and as well as my fellow trustees to reach out to legislators.
Is there value in any of us like going over and meeting with them during session? Is there, I mean, as far as citizens or parents concerned? I just want to know how much we can help.
The thing is, when the session is starting, it flows pretty fast. Some of us are probably going to have bags packed so that all we have to do is, I mean, it could come up as early as this afternoon or tomorrow or something, and all of a sudden it's on the agenda. So we just have to follow it. And currently it has been recommended for funding in the joint appropriations budget.
Which is great.
So, and I believe that's in the master budget. So usually the budget comes up, this is the short session. So it will usually come up the beginning of the third week is when the budget usually comes up. Now, whether they bring it up sooner than that or not, we just have to wait and see because it's at the legislators' pleasure.
Okay. And will we be alerted if should someone bump it out of the budget, like so we can get even more mobilized? Like I'm not sure how to track budgets and figure everything out of it, but I'm sure someone here is tracking it very closely. Which is
Absolutely,
great.
yeah. And I think Parent Square is probably the best way to notify people as we are aware of things happening.
Wonderful. Well, I'm excited about the idea of a new high school. I know that we've tried multiple times, but it's going to work one of these times. And it's this is the time.
We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Further public comment? Further public comment?
Hello, my name is David Stoffer. I just had a couple questions and a comment. So scheduling of a building has nothing to do with the board, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a reason why we spend that much time with a presentation to the board if the board has nothing to do with
To
it?
keep the board informed.
Okay. So because of that, I think it's appropriate for me then to make the comment that I'd like to make. This schedule may be fantastic. We don't know. It may be a great thing, but I'm wondering why we are making this decision when two of the most integral people that are going to be involved in this haven't been hired yet. I'm a little concerned that the person that brought this idea to us is no longer here, and we haven't hired who's going to replace that person, who's going to be in charge of running this. And I think that could also affect dramatically the hiring process. If we're implementing something that's brand new, what is that going to do to candidates that maybe want to be the principal at Rock Springs High School? So I'm concerned about that, and also that we're doing this before we are even hiring the new superintendent that will supervise that that administrator. So I think that's a concern. We saw that issue. We hired a football coach before we hired the person that was going to be his boss, and it didn't go very well. So I'm just concerned that we're pushing this forward without having two of the people that are going to be really integral in making sure that it works. It may be great, but my question is why are we not waiting till we have those two pieces in place before we do that?
The intent is for the new superintendent to basically conduct the hiring process for the new principal.
That wasn't my question. My question is on the schedule. Why don't we wait till we put those two people in place and make sure that they're okay with this new schedule so that we don't get people in here that all of a sudden they want to go a different direction, and we've spent all these resources and time and effort to get a schedule in that maybe a principal and a superintendent don't agree with. So I just think those two people should be in place before we dramatically change a schedule at a school. And again, I know that's not a board decision, but that's just my concern, is that I think let's let those two people get in place, and then let's make sure that they're okay with this schedule and don't have other ideas or opinions that might affect that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Further public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the treasurer's reports. Mrs. Summers.
The general fund treasurer's report for the month of January 2024. The beginning balance was $9,782,177.54. Revenues received during the month included $18,081,539.97. Interbank transfers in were $14.2 million. Intrabank transfers in were $193,345.56. Less the warrants written during the month of $10,529,714.73. Voided checks totaled $2,160.51, and the ending cash balance was $17,529,508.85. The treasurer's report for the school lunch program, January of 2024. The beginning balance was $812,623.28. Revenue during the month totaled $65,209.71. The CACFP reimbursement totaled $9,200.04. The federal reimbursement was $92,204.31, and the FFVP grant reimbursement was $5,301.83. For an ending balance of $982,191.93. The treasurer's report for the Head Start program as of January 2024, the beginning bank balance was $352,970.84. Deposits totaled $141.49. Warrants cleared were $254,338.22 for an ending balance of $98,774.11. That concludes the treasurer's reports.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mrs. Cochran, second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Wright. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Warrants.
For the district warrants, checks number 165009 through 165887, totaling the amount of $7,859,546.26. Net payroll numbers 1295453 to 129490 in the amount of $50,411.73. Numbers 793578 to 796322 in the amount of $5,577,350.55. Void number 129473 in the amount of $1,245.31. Check number 4397 federal funds transferred to the general fund totaled the amount of $27,236.50. Check number 4405 was a federal funds transferred to the daycare program, totaled the amount of $5,500. Checks number 3879807 and through number 3881713 were transfers to general fund, totaled $7,050,000. Checks number 3877377, 3879081, 3880628, 3883048, 3885248, 3889832, and 3890793 were transfers to general fund, totaled the amount of $7,950,000. Checks number 3877369, 3887339, 3889833 were general fund transfers totaling $2,150,000. Check number 3872817 totaled $520,000 for major maintenance. Check number 3891054 transfers to the Recreation Board totaled $245,000. Check number 1009 to the Insurance Fund, Health Plan Fund totaled $300,000. Check number 1010 to the Insurance Fund, Estate of Shirley T. Cox totaled $1,232. And check number 1-2024-01, Insurance Fund Retiree Account, totaled $232,000. That concludes the warrants.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wright. I do want to declare a conflict on warrant number 00165-647. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. And that included the approval of the district warrants and also the release of those payments. Consent agenda. Board of Education, all matters listed under consent agenda are matters about which the board has governing policies, implementation of which is delegated to the superintendent. They will be enacted in one motion in the order listed below. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the Board of Trustees votes on the motion unless members of the board request specific items to be held and discussed separately and or removed from this section. Motion to approve the consent agenda. A, approval of the minutes from the January 8th, 2024 regular meeting. B, approval of the minutes from the January 8th, 2024 executive session. C, approval of the minutes from the January 25th, 2024 special board meeting. D, approval of the minutes from the February 6th, 2024 special board meeting. E, approval of the minutes from the February 6th, 2024 executive session. F, curriculum, approval to authorize the Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Department to purchase books from American Reading Company. G, approval of the Farson Eden School football field scoreboard and sound system. H, general board business, approval of the Head Start 2023-2024 annual report. I, general board business, approval of the Head Start 2023-2024 community needs assessment. J, general board business, approval of the 2022-2023 Head Start self-assessment report. K, human resources, approval of personnel recommendations. And that includes an addendum, which is accept the hire of Tamika Davis. And Mr. Supas has submitted his letter of resignation, and Mrs. Supas has submitted her letter of resignation, both effective immediately. L, Human Resources, approval of the purchase of AED devices and well cabinets. M, Transportation, approval of a contingency fee to refurbish 2 fleet buses. And that completes the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? It's been moved by Mr. Wright. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Summers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Board information, item number 9, update on the ARP ESSER Safe Return Plan 6-month review. Okay, Mrs. McGovern.
Chair Jellicoe, fellow trustees, what you have right here is, I'm bringing this forward now, and I'll probably bring that back again before the board for your review in June. It's a requirement for the grant funds to be reviewed periodically. We know that these grant funds will end at the end of September 30th. They need to be encumbered and then all paid out by December 30th. But to make sure, in preparation for the new superintendent that's coming forward, I'm bringing that a couple of times to make sure that that is taken care of for the district. As far as the safe return plan, there aren't any changes within that plan. There's a new COVID test. This actually went in front of our district nurses, in front of the county health officer and their office as well to review the plan. This is one of those plans that I can safely say that I hope we never ever have to use again. But nonetheless, it is a requirement for these grant funds in order to be able to do that. And then also we have the retirement of Mrs. Carter, Linda Carter, and she will be leaving on April 1st. And so she has been working with us on these grant areas. And so this will make us have this nice and tidied up before we've got a lot of changes that are going to be coming forward. So not a lot of changes on this plan, trustees, and for our community, but general information in case we would have to use that plan. I hope not.
This is for board information. Any questions? Thank you. Item number 10, the 2024-2029 strategic plan. Again, this is for board information. It's the proposed 2024-2029 strategic plan. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Sorry. Go. I just wanted to make sure that you saw the feedback. So after we met last time, you had asked that we send that out to our principals and have them do that with their staffs, also the directors. So that we attached all of the feedback. We did take off names because we felt like the feedback didn't need to, tell you which school or which teacher or which department. And so based on that feedback, any changes that you would like made, just let us know and we will update that for you so that we can have a final draft ready for approval whenever you say go ahead.
Mr. Wright?
Chair Jellicoe. So first and foremost, I want to thank district teachers, staff, students, members of the community. We received over 93 pages of feedback. And while I think we need to make the point that not every comment can be incorporated, I have gone through all 93 pages and done my best to capture the main points. And I kind of alluded to some of those earlier in our meeting. But as I mentioned, I've also worked with Julie, I don't know if I can say her last name right, but Kosorik at WSBA to incorporate some of the feedback and suggestions that we've received. So I would like to propose that we hold a board workshop prior to our March meeting, wherein trustees can come prepared with their edits to discuss and try to finalize the strategic plan. I do want to make the point that I know that a lot of time and effort and energy and a lot of people have put in a lot of work to the current draft strategic plan. And I want those individuals to know that we don't take lightly the amount of work that's been put into that. And I don't think it needs major revisions, but whether Mr. Knezovich will agree with me or not, I think to his point on the strategic plan, what he had was a one-page plan. What we're putting together and the process that we've undergone to put this together, I can't speak to the last one that was made. I wasn't around at that time, but we've been through this and discussed it for several months. We've asked for a lot of feedback, and as I mentioned, we got 93 pages of feedback, and I think this board is working really hard to make this strategic plan as actionable, as data-driven as possible. And so I would like to use an hour before our March meeting to try to incorporate these edits and finalize that plan.
That board workshop will be scheduled, so you can put it on your calendars.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay. We will, let's see, move on to item number, well, it's the good of the order, number 11, good of the order. Anyone with good of the order? Any comments? Mr. Wright?
Tired of hearing from me yet. Chair Joko. First and foremost, I wanted to suggest an idea to the board going forward, and that is that we add an agenda item to board meetings, wherein each month a board member can highlight a certain topic and spend a few minutes unraveling the topic to better educate our community and in an effort of transparency. As I mentioned, one of the most prevalent topics of feedback on that strategic plan was educational jargon and terms used that not everybody understands. I think if we had a couple minutes during a board agenda for educational jargon to be explained or to walk through a certain process, or kind of like we talked about standards changing and just really bring everybody together, I think it'd be a good thing. So I guess I'd say I'd be happy to volunteer for the first month or few months of this if that's something that the board agrees to, but I think it'd just be good if we selected a topic monthly and tried to maybe have a little more involvement on that. And then secondly, I want to wish Mr. and Mrs. Supis well and recognize the time and energy that they put into making our school district a better place. While I understand that each parent or community member might have a variety of opinions about these two individuals, and that, you know, we don't know anything more to the circumstances than anybody else does at this time, I do know that these individuals showed up to work each day. They put their best foot forward and they tried to do what was right for kids. So I just want to wish them well in the situation that they need to attend to and say thank you for their time and service to our district.
Thank you. Further good of the order. Mrs. McGovern.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Jellicoe. I would like to spin off just a little bit with what Trustee Wright had mentioned. With Glenn Supis and Janine Supis, we worked as a leadership team with them day to day for the last several years. And so out of respect for them and their family, I appreciate everybody not making assumptions about that something is, that there's drama behind that. I think out of respect for two individuals that were leaders in our district, and they were part of Sweetwater One, that we take the high road on there and say thank you to them for what they did for students and what they did for staff. So Glenn and Janine, thank you very much.
I would like to echo those thank yous to having worked with Mr. Supis on policy committee and various committees throughout his tenure. I want to thank both he and Janine for the dedicated work that they've provided for this district and wish them well. Any other good of the order? As I said earlier, I will be attending a legislative forum this weekend. My intent is to try to contact legislators. I do have to leave Sunday night, so I will not be going over to the Capitol on Monday due to the luncheon with one of our candidates on Monday. So, but I will try to reach out to as many people as I can while I'm there. I anticipate probably some additional trips to Cheyenne based on still trying to get the funding for the replacement Rock Springs High School. So we will keep you informed as we know. As I spoke with Mr. Sorensen, the session moves very, very quickly sometimes, and sometimes we don't have a lot of notice. It's just when it happens, and we just have to be ready. Any further good of the order? Okay, new business, item number 12, board information, policy EFB-R, unpaid meal balances. B, the vacancy notice as of today, February 12th, 2024. C, January 2024 Head Start Governing Board and Policy Council Monthly Report. D, minutes from the December 4th, 2023 Farson Eden School Advisory Board meeting. And I would now entertain a motion to go into executive session. It's been moved by Mrs. Summers. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wright. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. We are now in executive session for the discussion of legal and personnel matters. I do not anticipate any action upon our return. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to return to the regular meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Summers. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wright. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. And I would now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Mr. Wright. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye. Okay, we are adjourned.